Seats, please. I would like to call to order the regular meeting of the Board of Education of Community Unit School District 201, today, Tuesday, April 12, 2011. Roll call, please, Mrs. McMahon.
Ms. Casey?
Here.
Mr. Charleston?
Here.
Mrs. Charlton?
Here.
Mrs. Hancock?
Here.
Mrs. Lubeck?
Here.
Mr. Price?
Here.
Mrs. Thomas?
Here. If we could stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First item on the agenda is the student recognition. If we could have Mr. Carr, please.
It's my unique pleasure to introduce two of our teams from this winter who competed at the state level at the IDTA meet. And I'm first going to introduce our dance coaches, Sue Ellen Greer and Carla Calvert, to introduce our dancers from the 8th place hip-hop dance team. So Carla Calvert and Sue Ellen Greer.
Well, just to say a few words about the team, it was a really thrilling year with them. They started the year with attending dance camp. They volunteered for the St. Jude Walk, entertained the participants. They ran a Biddy Dance Clinic for a fundraiser and to provide a service to the community for dance. And then they started the competition season and worked really hard throughout the whole season to create a routine that was really dynamic and really fun to watch. And we culminated our season with competing down in Champaign at the state meet for the first time. And it was really thrilling to watch them get that far and work that hard. And they placed 8th, and we were really proud of the season that they had.
All right. And we would just like to say thank you to the parents, the administration, and the board, and especially the athletic boosters for their support. And we're really proud of all of your accomplishments. It was a tough season to get going, but we pulled it out, and we're really proud of you. So. We would like to introduce Maya Burrell. And we have Azari Ruffin. Oh, sorry. And we have Monier Walker Bunton. And unfortunately, the rest of our team couldn't make it, or they have not arrived yet, but we have Nadej Chin, Donovan, Fantasia Kelly, Elena Mandrella, and that's it.
It's an impressive group. It's their first year at the state competition level. And Ms. Calvert and Ms. Greer did a wonderful job of getting them prepared to compete at that high level. So it was really a wonderful year for them and a developing year. So, and that was their first year at a meeting like this after the state meet, but our flag team has been here a number of times. In my time here, it seems like every year our flag team goes to state, and every year they're coming home with hardware. So our flag team had another successful year at the state flag competition in the long flag competition. They were, I'm going to invite our captains up here, Emily Hayden and Jeff Yang. They were first in the state. And, first in state at state competition is just a huge accomplishment. These kids are state meet veterans, and I'm going to let them do the introduction of their of their teammates, and then I'll have a few final words. So Jeff and Emily.
First, we have Katie Martin.
Christine Mazil.
Megan DeYoung.
Carolyn Chueca.
Casey Rogers.
And Morgan Golias.
We have a few others that weren't here today. Kelsey Mandrella, Rachel Burgum, Catherine Cantron, and Melissa Frigeau.
While Jeff and Emily get their awards, I'd also like to recognize their coach, Megan Bloyd, who puts in a tremendous amount of time, as did Coach Calvert and Coach Greer, in getting our students prepared after school, over the weekends. The dedication that these kids put in both the dance team and the flag team is very impressive. And I think it's a true testament to the appreciation that we have for them is when they perform at our basketball games or at our assemblies. It's truly a heartfelt appreciation from our students because they know the time and the dedication it takes to really put on a first-rate show. So it's, in the case of both teams, a lot of time and effort goes into the performances they put together. So to all of you, congratulations and thank you very much.
And before we do public comment, I would like to acknowledge one more thing. I'd like to say congratulations to Shannon Hancock and to Gary Armstrong and Mary Kay Caparelli, and as new elected officials with the Board of Education. So congratulations. And then public comment. I have one card here. Liz Rathburn.
This is my son, Jack, and he wanted to stand up here with me tonight. Good evening. I'm Liz Rathburn. I'm the Vice President of Manning's PTO for fundraising, and I'm also the lead organizer of the Harlem Wizards event that's about to happen. It's actually in 10 days, or 215 hours, but I'm not counting down or anything. I wanted to update all of you with the excitement that's going on in all the buildings. While the event planning has been a community event, the real fun starts on Thursday, April 21st, when the Wizards will make appearances in all 4 schools. Our hope is that this will push the last-minute ticket sales, but the way we're rolling right now, we might not have any tickets left. So I'm encouraging people to buy tickets now and not wait at the door. I don't want to turn anybody away that night. The Wizards will visit each school. The elementary schools and the junior high will have an assembly, and the high school will have a meet and greet with the Wizards. Let's see, sorry, I lost my spot. The assemblies will have the awesome tricks that the Wizards are known for, and they will speak to them about the importance of school and bullying. And they will visit the high school and talk to them about whatever topic the kids would like to talk about. The doors of the high school will open to the public at 5:30 p.m. Anyone who has not picked up their tickets before today will be asked to stand in the will call lines for tickets. Souvenirs will also be sold, and up to 30% of the profits will go to the 4 organizations. The Westmont High School concession stand will also be open. We'll be serving L&F pizza, popcorn, and all of the other goodies our concession stand is known for. And all of the profits for those sales will go to our 4 organizations. The junior high and high school pep bands will also be playing as we eat, shop, and find our seats. And I was just told that we have someone as a community link to being arranged for our deaf and hard of hearing friends in the community. The team introductions will start at 6:30, and tip-off will be soon after, once everyone has taken their seats on the bench. And the halftime show is an audience participation sort of show with the Wizards leading the way. In case you have not heard who will be playing, I can share with you that we have 23 District 201 staff members on our team, 4 junior high students, and 2 village board members. Mr. Carey is our team coach, and we're excited to have him on the bench. And we've asked Mrs. Charlton to be our team manager, along with a couple other principals of the schools. This has been a truly amazing community event for it to happen, and the amazing sponsors that have participated to help pull this off. As well, we have to remember the 4 organizations and all of their members have helped us: the Manning PTO, the Miller PTO, the Junior High PTO, and the Westmont Athletic Boosters. I hope to see all of you on the 21st, and if you have not purchased your tickets but are still interested, please don't hesitate to contact me or any of the members of the organizations in our school. Thank you very much.
And you can, through the district website.
The district website, we have a website as well, westmontschoolevents.com, and you can also download a form and send it through the schools, and we're picking them up on a daily basis and turning them around very quickly, but they'll be in will call as of now. Thank you very much.
For putting that together.
Oh, it's been a lot of fun. Has it been fun?
Thank you. Are there any other public comments? Then the first item on the agenda is the consent agenda. Are there any questions on that? Then the chair will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented. Number 1, personnel recommendations and the approval of the IHSA agreement.
So moved. Second.
And roll call, please, Mrs. McMahon.
Ms. Casey?
Yes.
Mr. Charleston?
Yes.
Mrs. Charlton?
Yes.
Mrs. Hancock?
Yes.
Mrs. Lubeck?
Yes.
Mr. Price?
Yes.
Mrs. Thomas?
Yes.
Okay. Then the next item is the superintendent's contract. Oh, I'm sorry. No, superintendent's contract, yes. If everyone could take a look at the finalized version of the contract in your orange folder. And I know we just have one item. Diane, did you want to?
Yes, I had a question or an item on the goals on
Page
the
2.
finance and facility. Under the measurements, item number 3. I would like to see the word favorable defined.
Okay.
If we agreed to do the tool in the near future, I would have no problem tying that word to the tool. Otherwise, I'd just like to have it be a little clearer as to what favorable is.
Okay. Okay. Kevin, do you have a suggestion for that, or would you like it? Would you like? Let me ask you this: did you want it? Is there another word that you would rather?
See, I think I run into the same problem. You know,
Okay.
favorable. I don't know if it just meaning.
That basically, you know, when we receive our audit, that the audit findings would come back with no adjustments need to be made, no problems, no errors, no, you know, in terms of the checks and balances that we have in place, those types of things. I mean, typically there's a letter to the board from the auditor.
That says it is favorable.
Right.
Well, it's what's referred to in accounting parlance as a clean opinion, meaning that there's no particular material misrepresentations, you know, and things like that. So it's, you know, favorable is effectively a clean opinion, meaning that there's, you know, that their test concluded that they didn't find anything untoward.
I'm good with that.
So it's really accounting parlance.
I'm good with that.
Okay. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does.
Okay. Does anyone else have any questions or anything? Okay, then the chair will entertain a motion to approve the superintendent's contract for Kevin M. Carey for the period beginning July 1st, 2011 through June 30th, 2014 as presented.
So moved.
Second.
And roll call, please.
Mrs. Thomas?
Yes.
Mr. Price?
Yes.
Mrs. Lubeck?
Yes.
Mrs. Hancock?
Yes.
Mrs. Charlton?
Yes.
Mr. Charleston?
Yes.
Ms. Casey?
Yes.
And continuing the recognition, welcome to the district.
Thank you.
And we will now call you our permanent superintendent.
Thank you.
Take interim title off, so congratulations. And we will talk about posting that on the website or the
Okay.
pertinent pieces for the future. Okay, then, the next item is the superintendent's report.
Included in your board book, we're now starting the process, and we're getting 3 groups up and running in short order. We're starting our strategic planning process, which will begin with committee work on April 28th at 7 o'clock p.m. in the Manning Community Room. And then we're also continuing the work of the Facilities Committee. If you recall at our last board meeting, Steve Cashman brought forth some of his ideas and thoughts after touring the buildings, and his work was actually a continuation of the previous facility study. So it's not like that information is completely being pushed to the side, but rather we're continuing to work with that information. And so this group that we're pulling together will, review that report as well as Steve Cashman's ideas. And then my guess is generate some questions for the board to gain a greater understanding of the direction for that committee. But ultimately, coming forward with a recommendation of how to address the needs within our buildings and help to prioritize as they see those needs, and bring forth a recommendation so that we can begin to put together a plan then of how we're going to address the physical plant needs for our schools. We're also getting our finance committee together as well, and they're going to start on April 19th at 7 o'clock p.m. In the Manning Community Room, and that group.
Well, and that's just mentioned that I actually would suggest that you may want to defer the beginning of that committee until, because there's a board level committee for that, and I would assume that the board level chair would, or board person in that committee would participate. We should probably wait until the organizational meeting and establish that person.
Sure. Is there, does the board feel the same way we should?
That probably makes
We can wait
sense.
until after the May 3rd reorganization.
Yes, sure.
And then that group, obviously, we've got some short-term budgetary questions with our budget deficit, but also we want to look at a long-term solution for the district, how to best address the financial needs, so that I think the community, I think the board, I think as a school district, we're kind of getting tired of every spring going through a process of looking at, okay, how can we cut back on some expenditures, retain the experience for our students, and try to get closer to a balanced budget. So we're looking for this group to come forward with some concrete ideas and thoughts for the board to consider so that we can move forward and achieve that balanced budget long-term for our district. And so whatever that solution may be. There's a couple thoughts. Kim is familiar with the educational program review technique, which is a process in which we look at all of our programs within the district, and we take a look at the benefit of those programs, and then what that program looks like if you were to increase the budget for that program, if you were to decrease the budget for that program, or if it would remain the same. And so you really get an idea of the investment we're making within our programs, and we may find out that we're able to reduce costs in some areas and still maintain the same level of service. In other areas that we might actually get a better result by reinvesting some of our funds in that manner. So we want to go through that process as well and make sure that we have a very good understanding of, we want to make sure that we're seeing the outcome that we think we are for the dollars that we're spending. So that'll be part of that process as well. And then,
Can I just ask,
sure.
and I know you had we had talked about this before, because we have been talking about these committees for a while. If there is anyone else who is interested in being on one of these committees, I want to make sure that we have captured everybody.
Right.
Especially the strategic planning, since we've been talking about that for quite a while, so.
And now that I wasn't sure if the dates would remain the same, but now that I think we kind of locked in on some dates to get started, we'll get some information via the blog and the newspapers to people to encourage their participation as well. So we'll get that information out.
Thank you.
And then the last item that's part of my report is regarding this scoreboard. And there were some conversations that took place after the board meeting, and I know Shannon had offered to work with the boosters to help generate additional revenue towards the scoreboard to assist the boosters. And Ms. Casey had thrown out the suggestion of, possibly putting a timeline on that, and I had inserted 6 months, that possibly after 6 months, seeing where that fundraising is headed and where it's at. If it's reached its goal of 10,000, great. If it hasn't, then possibly bringing the question to the board whether or not they want to, make up that difference to bring it up to that 10,000. So that's kind of, up to the board then to consider that, and how if they want to discuss that further or how they want to.
Yeah, that was my thought. Is that my feeling is that I don't want the boosters to have to feel at this point that they have any more responsibility for this 10,000. So my feeling is that, if the 10,000 isn't raised, then, the full 10,000, then whatever difference that the school board or the school district would make up the difference. And I understand, though, that may have already been accomplished.
So I know that the boosters have a meeting later this week, so there isn't concrete additional information for tonight's purposes, but I know that they're meeting later this week to determine what exactly they have. There are a number of verbal agreements that have been achieved to this point. They do have spaces that have on each of the 3 scoreboards that they're going after community sponsors for, and we've had some success from a number of different sources, whether it's people they've found or people we found or that type of thing. I would probably say that this is a bigger conversation than the $10,000. It's really maybe looking 6 months from now or the end of this school year or something at what we had budgeted from the projects that Mike Mayoris identified, see where we came in on those dollar amounts, see where we are on the total dollar amount of the scoreboard, and set a conversation to have at that time, not just looking at the 10 grand, not just looking at the fundraising, but kind of at the whole picture of what did we end up spending this year. I think you suggested that as an idea. And looking at where the fundraising has gone and how much is left at the end of that, and that I do think that discussion should take place.
My feeling is that, as I stated at the last meeting, I feel that the scoreboard is really the responsibility of the school district. It should have never been considered the responsibility of the athletic boosters. That is an item that is owned by the school district. It should have been fully funded by the school district. I feel that it was very gracious and generous of the athletic boosters to offer to help fund it. So what I'm trying to say, and I'm not sure that I'm being clear, is that I don't want them to have to worry about anything beyond the $30,000 that they're currently funding. So, we approved $10,000, and then at the last meeting we said that a committee would be formed to come up with the additional $10,000. So what I'm trying to say is that this committee, whoever it is going to be responsible for either coming up with that $10,000, or if that committee falls short of the $10,000, then I think that the school board should commit to saying that any amount that is not met of that 10,000 would be covered by the school district, so that the boosters don't feel or think that at some future date they're going to have to come up with anything beyond the 30,000.
Well, I
Does
think
that
it's a
make
good
sense?
point to look at it in, if 6 months or 3 months, if we can look at it again and see where we are, and then go from there to see where it is. I mean, I think that's a good idea, to make sure we could certainly look at it again.
Shannon, just to understand what you were suggesting, in essence, obviously, in some reasonably finite period of time, you're leading the charge to raise corporate sponsorship. So in some reasonably short period of time, you'll have a sense for that. But more importantly, you're suggesting that there's a time after this summer, where we've budgeted capital projects of, whatever the number is. And off the top of my head, it's like 130 or 100 and something.
Well, with the lift, it's 150 plus.
Yeah.
So it's a few hundred, several hundred thousand.
Okay, so I was excluding that because we'd approved that separately, but. But the idea then that you're suggesting is if we came in, 20,000 inside that number, there's clearly savings that the district would have realized in the capital area that we could then look at for effectively backfilling the scoreboard. Is that?
I think we should look at it, yes.
Okay.
I think that, based on the verbal commitments we have currently, and I'm certainly not leading the charge, I'm helping the boosters.
Yeah, that's
but
fine, that's fine.
Don't want to mischaracterize that, because they're, really have a tremendous amount of work going on, and we're taking direction from the boosters.
Good.
But I think we're already, enthusiastic, encouraged that there are verbal commitments out there beyond that at this point. So I'd like to look at the bigger picture of the scoreboards are X dollar amount, and how close do we get to that whole dollar amount with these corporate sponsors, and where do we sit from a expense versus projected perspective when we get to the end of the summer projects, and look to see what else, if anything, we should be doing for the scoreboards.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely worth something to,
So
put
what
on
you're
a
saying is
future-
that you might, at a later date, you might even be open to giving more money towards the scoreboards.
Depending what's
if
necessary,
needed.
how the budget goes this summer and how the fundraising goes, I think that we should look at it again. Because those were kind of the stipulations that people talked about around the table, and I think that those are the right things to go back to. Mhm.
Okay, I'm comfortable with that. What I just don't want to see happen is the athletic boosters have to end up paying more than the 30,000 that they're already paying. If I can be assured of that, I'll be comfortable with that.
I think it's definitely a good idea to take a look at it, and once the work gets started, to reevaluate it and take a look at that, yeah.
But I'm
It's certainly-
not being assured that they're not going to have to pay more. I haven't heard that yet.
Well,
yes, I'd like to ask a question, like there is no assurance, because are we moving forward on the purchase of the boards? Or is that in limbo, and is the boosters getting a loan for 30,000? Do we know what's happening?
We have loan documents. We're waiting for the boosters to sign those. We have to sign out our end of the agreement, and we have to have the copies of the minutes. But right now, the boosters are out selling the advertising, and we've been in contact with BaumSign to let them know that we're moving forward. We're waiting, though, for the proofs from all the advertising pieces before we actually, we need the boosters to sign off on all the advertising pieces and the signage. Then that will come to my desk, I'll sign off, and then we'll put the PO in. Because I can't put the PO in right now because it's a next year project. I don't have any money to pay for that project right now. The boosters don't have money at this point in time either, because the loan hasn't been finalized. It's really an after June 30th project.
And the dollar amount on this loan is how much?
I don't remember off the top of my head, or somewhere, I think around 37,000, but I'm not sure. I didn't bring that information tonight.
So it is more than the 30,000 that they originally wanted a loan for.
Why?
Well, there's finance cost in there, they're borrowing money, so there's a cost to borrow money. I don't know, we haven't finalized everything. So, and that's really up to the boosters of how much money they want to take out. That's not the district's decision to make of how much money the boosters want to borrow.
I don't think that the boosters wanted to borrow that much money. I think they were forced into borrowing that much money. And that's the problem that I have with this. And that is why I'm bringing this up for discussion again. You know, we told them that we would approve 10,000, and then we said at the last meeting that we would form a committee, not them, we, somebody in the community, and Shannon said she would head it up, to get 10,000 in sponsorships.
Right, so Kathy, I think, I mean, just not to go back over, we're already there. Those things are done. I've talked to the boosters a number of times over the last couple of days. They have a meeting later this week, so I can't tell you anything conclusively because, as Kim pointed out, they are the ones who are saying, we're responsible, let us meet as an executive committee and determine whatever. So I'm waiting to hear from them with more details about exactly how much they wanted to put in to begin with, which would then determine the size of the loan. So they're really controlling a lot of those things right now.
But they can prepay that loan. I think what they need to know is how much the school district is actually going to give them. Do we actually have the sponsorships that you were able to get? Do we actually have the money in hand?
Well, the boosters aren't prepared with the documents and don't have everything ready for, that's why I said they're verbal commitments, because I don't have paperwork for anybody to sign. So the boosters are meeting later this week. Unfortunately, this conversation is a couple days in advance of, I think, the boosters even really being ready for us to have this conversation. So I made some calls when I got the book and said, okay, this is coming up, and you know, what are we doing and where do we stand? And you know, the answer I got was, we've made some efforts, things are going fairly well. However, we have a meeting later this week and that we kind of need to wait and see what the outcome of that is. We do have a number of verbal commitments beyond the $10,000 that we originally discussed. And I think that the payment of that and how all that's going to be handled, the boosters want to be in control of that, and they should be. It's their loan.
Right. They're the ones who are deciding the payment schedule and how comfortable they feel with how much money they want to allocate each year. So potentially, if you looked at the money that they have, they could maybe take out a lesser dollar amount of loan. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's a decision they're making, and they understand what the financing costs are of borrowing that money. And so that's really, again, a decision for their executive board to make.
And I think that we can ask
them to allocate more funds up front or feel comfortable with a smaller payment and then maybe make a very large payment and pay off the loan sooner. You know, and that's really something about their comfort level. And again,
well, I think that they made it clear at the meeting that they were at, which you were not here.
I watched the entire meeting, so I'm fully versed on what happened.
They would have preferred to not have to take out as much money. Mm-hmm. I think they made that very clear.
Mm-hmm. So I think, Kathy, we really would need to have a booster person here to understand the details of what they've signed and what they want and how the money is working, because I don't think Kim or I, either of us in our roles are prepared to say this is what's going on, because really it is in their control and we're taking the lead from what they want us to do, you know, whether it's signing paperwork, whether it's going after sponsors, you know, we're really taking direction from the executive committee of the boosters. So I guess my request would be maybe the next meeting, because they will have had their executive committee meeting at that point, and we can say to them, these are the questions or concerns, and, you know, go through it. And that's kind of up to you. But I just don't think we have enough information right now to really get what you want.
We can put it on the agenda for the next meeting.
Yeah,
I think that's probably
for the next meeting.
And then we can have someone here that can speak for the boosters instead of Kim and I trying to figure out what the right words are. I think it's better to let them speak for themselves.
That's fine.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. That's it.
Okay. Are there any other public comments?
So I just had a couple of things. First of all, I wanted to acknowledge the Thursday before spring break, at the high school, there was a career fair, and it was for all of the high school students. And I was fortunate enough to be able to participate in the career fair and was amazed when I arrived. The gym was completely full, wall to wall with tables. They had over 75 professionals from different careers that provided professional information and guidance and support to the students that were walking around. The 4 teachers' aides who led the committee at the high school, the SPAN parents who participated, and all of the professionals that came. It was a tremendous, tremendous event. And every profession you could possibly imagine, from all of the trades and police and fire, all the way up to a doctor who brought body parts that you could put gloves on and touch them, to everything that you can imagine. Everything from clothing to facilities maintenance and management, and everything in between. And it was a tremendous, tremendous event. And I just wanted to acknowledge all of the hard work that went in by the SPAN parents and the teachers' aides. It's just tremendous. And I've been told it's every other year that they're going to try and do this, and I've already enthusiastically put my name in to participate again, and I can't encourage everybody in your particular profession, if you have an opportunity to do this, it's a wonderful thing. So thank you very much to all of the adults who coordinated that activity. It was wonderful. The other thing, and I don't know if there's anybody at some point, or Kevin, if you had heard, but there was a Destination Imagination team from Manning that won our local competition and went to regional, and they actually took 3rd at regional. Unfortunately, 1st place and 2nd place are what goes on to national, so I think that it was a bittersweet 3rd place win. But I just wanted to acknowledge the success of those students and I know their parents and the parent leaders for Destination Imagination put a tremendous amount of effort in, and they were wildly successful, really. I mean, 3rd place at regionals for our little district is a wonderful, amazing thing.
Yes. Okay, then just future meetings. Again, the April 21st is the Wizards event. That's April 21st, doors open at 5:30. The next board meeting is April 26th, and then the May 3rd is the organizational meeting. So then the chair, hearing nothing else, the chair will entertain a motion to enter closed session for the purpose of discussing collective bargaining, personnel issues, and student discipline.
So moved.
Second.
And roll call, please.
Mr. Charleston?
Yes.
Mrs. Charlton?
Yes.
Mrs. Hancock?
Yes.
Mrs. Lubeck?
Yes.
Mr. Price?
Yes.
Mrs. Thomas? Yes. Ms. Casey?
Yes.
And there will not be a vote after closed session. Thank you.